Well, how do you do, buckaroos? This is Joe Layton of Cowboys and Indians Magazine, and I'm very glad today to be talking to Maggie McClure and Shane Henry, otherwise known as the Imaginaries. And if you're not familiar with their names, chances are very good that you're familiar with their music, particularly if, like my wife, you watch a lot of Hallmark movies, or if recently you have watched a cowgirl's love song, excuse me, a cowgirl's song on Netflix, which I understand you not only did some music for, but you played sort of a bigger role in the production.
Yes, this was the first feature film that Shane and I actually participated in as producers. So we co-produced the movie and we also co-starred in it as well as doing all the music, writing and producing every song that you hear in the movie.
Yeah, right here in our studio.
And you've got a new single coming out soon. Things are going to be all right. And you seem to be branching out into acting a little bit in the music video for it. So do you see yourself as the next Fred and Ginger of music movies? Or
I don't know, we've always really enjoyed doing music videos. I'm very visual, so whenever I'm writing music or recording, I'm always thinking about what it could look like.
Sure.
So I think, it's a very natural thing for us to do, especially when it involves our music. So the sky's the limit.
well, now forgive my ignorance here, but is there a technical term or a term in the industry for what you do when you compose music and compose songs specifically for, say, like a Hallmark movie or like Cowgirl's Song? I mean, obviously, you have some. It's like haiku. There's some rules for it. I mean, you wouldn't be able to come in. Hey, I've got this great acid rock song that I want to
Right.
overlay. Uh,
Yeah.
first off, is there a technical term for it, and how do you approach this?
There's not really a technical term for it, but every project is different. We've done a lot of music custom for film and TV, and then we've had a lot of songs licensed. So in a lot of the Hallmark movies that we've worked with, they have licensed our existing songs.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
that is how that has worked. So that's one way of doing it.
Yeah, I mean, this process for a Cowgirl Song was all really at the ground level of we were working with the director as he was writing the script. Essentially, he had the script. I mean, he tweaked the script as time went on, but we started writing these songs with him for the film, specifically for the scenes and for the characters in the movie. So it was a really cool, interesting way to write. Maggie and I are songwriters. We've done a lot of co-writing with other songwriters over the years. I've had the privilege to work with, some Grammy award-winning songwriters early in my career, like Jeff Silbar and different folks. But this was an interesting thing because Tim is not a songwriter; he's a writer and director. But he knew what he wanted these songs to be about, and he would write, words and kind of give us ideas and kind of lead us in directions. And what we would do is we would work on the song and then we would go back to him. And this was sort of this back and forth situation.
Yeah.
And some of the songs took about a month to finish. It
Hmm.
was a really interesting process. I mean, we really dug in deep and worked really hard, especially on the song that Cheryl Ladd sings at the big concert in the film called Miles to Go. That was the first song that we wrote. And that song really did take a while. It took about 4 weeks for us to get that
Yeah.
song,
It
right.
did. And it's a really interesting thing when you're working with someone who is not a musician, like Shane was saying, just trying to understand what they're saying when they don't really speak music.
Hmm.
And so, we had to do a lot of our research and homework, figuring out what types of songs he liked so that we could have references so that we were headed in the right direction when we started writing these songs. And so for a cowgirl song, it was a really intricate process the way we did that. But I would say every film and TV project is its own animal.
Mhm. Well, I have to say, among other things I liked about the film, people forget that Cheryl Ladd used to have her own primetime variety specials. I mean, she is a singer. She
Absolutely.
and not to name names, But did you find it easier to work and write for someone like that than perhaps on some occasions where, okay, this person really can't carry a note in a bucket, so
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
we're gonna have to write something that's easy
exactly.
for them to
Well,
sing.
when we went to cast this film, it originally had started off as it was going to be a grandfather versus grandmother. And we started going out to country music stars, and trying to find somebody who really was an artist. We really wanted, a musician to play that role. And it just didn't work out. There's not a huge pool of male country artists in that age range that would be
Available.
available and able to act well. And so it was an interesting thing. So the song started off, I think, in the key of D, which was great for a male vocal. And then once we realized we were going to go grandmother, we recut the song, and I believe we cut it in A.
Yeah.
And we thought, well, that's a pretty good key for any female vocal to sit somewhere there, because we didn't know who was going to get cast.
Yeah.
I mean, the casting was like 2 weeks before we started filming.
Ooh.
And being able to sing was a must
Yes,
for this
absolutely.
role.
And so when Cheryl was cast, we sent her the song immediately, and she called Maggie. She said, "Honey, I just love this song, but I've been playing it in my studio." And her husband's also a musician, and she said, "We've been messing around with it and playing through it." And she said, "I just sing it so much better in G." So we recorded it a third time for Cheryl, but it was well worth it. It fit her voice perfect. She came in the studio, and she was a little bit nervous the first day she got here, but she was as sweet as could be.
And so good.
And she said, I haven't sang on anything in 20 years. And so she said, I'm a little.
Really? It's been that long?
It'd been that long. I guess she had done some Broadway stuff about 20 years ago. And so, but she came in, and I mean, we worked on the song for about 2 hours in the studio, and she walked out and she was done.
Yeah, she was incredible. She did a great job. And that is a really interesting point because, we didn't know who we were casting when we wrote the song. So being able to sing was definitely a must for sure, because there's not much worse than having to try to produce someone who can't.
Or you just get to the point where it's like you realize that the actor can't sing, and then it's like you just have to bring in a session vocalist, and then they have to pretend they're singing on.
And then it's twice the work.
Exactly. It was important for us that all the characters in the film were able to sing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's like trying to calm down our kitten. I've started singing, Stephen Sondheim to him. And it's like, not while I'm around, nothing's gonna. And my wife will come in and say, "Joe, don't do that. You don't do that. You're gonna hurt the cat's ears. And look how big the cat's ears are." So, okay. But now, your single, "Things Are Gonna Be All Right," from another famous songwriting duo, right?
Yes. Well, I mean, I actually started that song. Interesting little backstory. Just before, or actually just right after the Imaginaries recorded our debut album, we were in the studio finishing it. This was like around June of 2019. And I started kind of having some pain in my side, just kind of ignored it, throughohout the day. And come to find out, my appendix ruptured. And my mom rushed me to the emergency room. And it was they went straight into surgery. And of course, when they rupture, it's real easy to get an infection and stuff like that. That happened to me, and it was absolutely brutal. I mean, I had friends that had talked about getting their appendix removed, and it sucked. But 2 days later, I was in Mexico on the beach, drinking a pina colada or whatever, and that wasn't the case for me. It was an interesting thing that happened. I'd never experienced that depth of pain before. I couldn't sleep. I was miserable. And then, of course, my family was all concerned and worried about me, because there was an empathy pain that I was feeling too from, everybody around me just being concerned.
Well, there's just a feeling of helplessness when you see someone suffering and there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
And so Shane really saw that in me and his mom.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You guys were so worried. And so that really sucked for me to have to see that. And I think it was around 4 or 5 in the morning, maybe 3-4 nights after that surgery, and I was home, and there wasn't anything else I could do. I was up at 4 or 5 in the morning. I went to the studio and picked up my acoustic guitar, and the song just started writing itself. I mean, it was just the craziest thing ever. And so started just, writing as quick as I could, and really quickly came up with the verses and the chorus. And then I, did a little voice memo of it, and then I kind of set it on the shelf. And fast forward to January of 20, I came out to NAMM and ran into my good friend Jeff Silbar, that is, a songwriter that I was paired up with years ago when I was signed to a label. They said, your songs are pretty good, but you need to write with some songwriters that can take you to the next level, really know what they're doing. And so I played the song for Jeff. I said, I think that I've got something special here. What do you think of it? And he goes, I love it. It needs a bridge. I said, yeah, it does. So we wrote the bridge together. And then, again, I kind of buttoned that song up, and I had it in the batch for the next, we were getting ready to release the Imaginaries. So it set for a little while longer. And then the pandemic hit, and it's like this song kind of took on a new meaning, I mean, it was just totally different, thinking about where I was at when I wrote it and kind of where it landed. And I thought for a little while, I thought, this song needs to be heard, that we need more. People need to know that things are going to be all right. They really do. And they need a song that'll lift them up and get them through hard times, because people are going through it. So I guess it was, last year we finally recorded it, and then we just finished it up, and really excited about it. I think it's going to be really special. And I think it's got, all the right message there that people need to hear.
Definitely.
And the music video is almost like a mini movie. So are you thinking already about your next film?
We're always thinking about what's next. Yes. We had a great time working on this music video here in Oklahoma City. Of course, we chose the 2 hottest days of the entire year.
It was literally, I'm not kidding you. It felt like being in Phoenix, Arizona, when, the pavement's melting, 115 degrees, but then you got Oklahoma humidity on top of that. It's like, man, just, luckily we did everything inside. Yeah. We did pretty much everything inside except the scenes of us driving in the RV. But no, it was really fun to just take that song and be able to place those struggles in different ways visually. And with, of course, the struggling single mom, and then you've got the other sort of bittersweet side of the couple that's in the flower shop that's going into retirement, which is a different kind of whole other side of what struggle looks like, or stress and work and things like that, uncertainty. And then, of course,
our story.
How fitting to be 2 musicians who have been working and doing this for years, and you still feel like you're constantly going like this, knocking on people's doors. Hey, listen up. You're trying to get people to listen to what you do and pay attention. And I can't tell you how many times we've been in bars and no one's listening. You're playing to a totally empty room, or even if it's not an empty room, it's a room of people that could care less, and so we thought we need to put this in the video. So
yeah, but we're always thinking about what's next, and we love doing videos, like I said earlier. And so yes, we are in the talks of our next movie project, but we can't really share much about it because it's all up in the air right now.
Well, I have to say, the beginning of the video, when you were singing to the, well, shall we say, less than responsive audience, there was a part of me that, I bet this isn't really acting, or what they say in acting, I'm drawing on sense memory.
Exactly. I mean, seriously, we didn't have to pretend hard on that scene. Every musician's been there. Everybody starts off somewhere that has to play a coffee shop with a grinder blaring in the background or something. You know what I mean? A loud, noisy bar. We've all been there and done that. So it was second nature.
Yeah. And it's just a matter of, keeping on and not giving up, and, relying on each other. And I think that's what this song is about, is, realizing that you do have people there that are there for you through everything, through the really low times, and to help celebrate during the happy times too.
Yeah.
Someone should write a book, My Worst Gig. A country artist, rock artist, classical music artist. I'm just saying that I remember once talking to Van Cliburn, and he was telling me about it wasn't so much the audience as they hadn't fastened down the piano
Oh
properly.
no.
Wow.
So he started to play, and the piano started.
Just drifted off. Wow.
Oh no.
And he said, fortunately, stagehands came rushing out, or it would have gone right out into the orchestra.
Oh my
So-
gosh. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a really good idea.
That's
I
like-
think every musician has at least a dozen
I mean,
horror
it's-
stories.
It's so fun. It's so funny. I'll never forget a gig Maggie and I were doing. We were headed up to San Francisco about 4 years ago. And we were actually talking about, man, what's the weirdest thing that's ever happened at a gig? And we had another guitar player in the car, and we're all sharing stories. One of my early first gigs when I was 15, I was in a blues band. And I'm not kidding you. We had, 8 to 10 songs that we knew. And, of course, we'd get to the 10th song and then start over back on the first one again. But we were doing blues rock stuff, anything from Stevie Ray Vaughan to Hendrix and B.B. King and stuff like that. We were playing, I think, Little Wing by Jimi Hendrix, and there was a commotion at the bar. A guy fell off a bar stool and had a heart attack and died at my first bar gig. And so I was telling the story about it, and everybody's cracking up and stuff. And then all of a sudden, I realized that I'd left my acoustic guitar at home while we're in the middle.
That became one of the worst gigs.
No, actually, it was almost the worst gig ever because it was a Sunday. Couldn't go to Guitar Center and buy a cheap acoustic. I'm thinking, what the heck am I going to do? And luckily, we were opening there was an opening act, and the girl was nice enough to let me borrow her guitar. So pretty funny.
That gives a whole new meaning to the term. Yeah, he went out there and really slayed him.
I know, right?
Yeah,
Exactly. It's funny because my dad, coming home from that gig, he was pulling all those out. Son, you really knocked him dead tonight. Killed him.
Oh.
And I do.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I do believe somewhere there's an old VHS, recording of that, but hopefully that never makes the light of day.
Well, now, are you going to be going on tour?
Yes, we are. We're super excited. Our first date is September 13th in Dallas, Texas. We're playing at the Sundown at Granada Theater with
Oh, that's a great place. That's a great. Used to be a movie theater.
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome.
We're very excited. We'll be playing there as a duo, and then the next night, September 14th, we'll be in Tulsa playing at the Shrine again with Noah Vaughn, but that'll be full band.
We'll have our band join us on to the Tulsa show.
And then Nashville at the Basement on the 18th with Kylie Connell and the Woods, and that'll be full band. We have some really awesome Nashville musicians playing with us that night.
Yeah.
It's gonna be great. And then October 14th, homecoming show in Oklahoma City at VZD's.
Great. Well, the name of the single is Things Are Gonna Be All Right. The name of the duo is The Imaginaries. And the movie that you can watch right now on Netflix is A Cowgirl's Song.
That's right.
Thank you very much, and good luck to you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank
We appreciate
you.
it.
Thanks.
Bye.